Everything they about to say is whack. But listen, I'ma have something better than that.
So what's the worst thing about Democrats?
That they're really judgmental to anyone who isn't a Democrat.
They all think they can get along, but they do no effort to do so.
How incompetent they are at campaigning and messaging.
The fact that foreign policy sometimes requires stepping on toes.
They're all hypocrites.
I want to point out, the best thing they said was that Democrats is the worst at campaigning and wording, but everything else was trash. It's way better criticisms of Democrats than what y'all said. I'm gonna give you some. A lot of lefty liberal politicians will have you believe they're against the prison industrial complex. However, when you follow where the money is going, it's a lot of them lining their pockets with a lot of that prison money. I'm talking about lobbyists, I'm talking about bureaucrats, I'm talking about interest groups. The worst thing about Democrats is they always want to point and look at the Republicans' racism, but they don't never want to do some internal type of reflection, you see? What happened to George Floyd happened in a Democratic-ran city in a Democratic-ran state. You see what I'm saying? But you see how police brutality and anti-black violence is still pervasive, whether we're talking about Democrats or Republicans? That's the worst thing about Democrats, is that they conjive these narratives that literally have folks in my community lost in the sauce, believing that they the good ones, not recognizing, hey, man, you just the left side of the same bird called white supremacy. And what we know about Democrats, one of the worst things about them is they really ain't got no issue with white supremacy. They ain't got no issue with empire building, with deporting. They ain't got no issue with criminalizing folks. They just like to have it with a nice, cute face, a politics of niceness. It's the fake outrage for me. Peep game, right? Obama deported the most amount of Mexicans in president history, more than the previous presidents that came before him, right? But guess what Democrats did? They faked the funk and act like they gave a darn about the Mexican population or Latino population when Trump came in office, but they ain't had no issue with the cute face of Obama pushing white supremacy and, all this deportation. But they quickly let you know, America is a country of immigrants and we shouldn't criminalize immigrants. But it's what you're doing right now. Have y'all checked the stats on what Biden is doing right now in terms of deportations? Research over me search, you know my motto. But listen, Biden has deported nearly as many Haitians in his first year than the last 3 presidents combined. Talk about that. One of the worst things about Democrats is they've mastered the hypocrisy of democracy. They are all lost in the sauce of the illusion of inclusion. See, they love to parrot those Martin Luther King quotes, but they never want to get into how he talked about the bringing people into a burning house and integration and things like that, right? In 2022, one of the worst things about Democrats is they stuck in the past of old respectability politics and decorum when it comes to playing politics. The Republicans, they passed that point. You see what I'm saying? The worst thing about Democrats, you see what Hillary and Biden do, right? They will spite the majority of their base just to try to get a little appeal to the mouters, to the folks in the middles. That's not how you play politics, man. Maybe 10, 20, and 30 years ago, but in 2022, hang it up. Another thing that's worse about the Democrats, it's going to be some lefty liberals that's going to be caught in their feelings trying to be mad at the critiques and criticisms of the left. They're going to see it as, hey, consciously, anything you say bad about Democrats is an endorsement for the right. And it's like, nah, you lost in the sauce about partisanship politics. And this the reason why we ain't getting nowhere, because you don't want to have the self-reflective nature that we need to be able to get done what we need to get done. So instead, we see y'all playing politics and taking L's. Education is elevation, man. Do better.